Imagine you have a bucket. It has a size and a shape, and you can put stuff in it. Once you have this bucket, you can use it anywhere in your home. You can use it in the garden, or to help wash a car, or to wash some windows. As you use the bucket, the contents might change. You might empty the bucket. You might put too much in the bucket so the water spills over. The fact is that you have a container filled with something that you can use anywhere, whose contents might change. This is exactly what a variable is, except instead of a bucket, it is an area of memory that acts like a container. You will end up with a container filled with data that you can use anywhere in your program, whose contents might change while your program is running. For example, you might have a program that contains someone's age. Over time, that person's age will change every birthday. This information will need to be stored in a variable. In the real world, before you can use a bucket, you have to go and buy one, or go and get one from the bottom of your garden. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. In the programming world, you have to do exactly the same, and this process is called declaring a variable. Variable declaration is like you are being asked to go and get a bucket so you can use it. In programming terms, you are telling your program to create an area of memory so you can use it. Let's imagine we are creating a bucket to hold sand in case of an emergency. You can see that this bucket has the word fire on it. This is so that we can tell it apart from other buckets. In programming, the bucket is your variable. The word fire is an identifier, or a word that will help tell your variables apart in the program. It will also refer to the area of memory that your program has created for you. Creating a variable with an identifier is called declaring a variable. In other words, creating a space in memory identified by a unique name, ready to hold some information. Notice at this point we do not have anything in the bucket yet. This comes later. You cannot have two variables with the same name. That would be like having two houses with the same number. You wouldn't be able to tell them apart. In Python, you don't actually need to explicitly declare variables. Instead, a variable is created when you assign a value to it, just like this. The Python program will create an area of memory and an identifier called myFirstVariable, and put the number 23 in the variable. Giving a variable a value is called assignment. Whenever we are using a bucket, we need to think carefully about what we are going to put in it. Let's think about our fire bucket. Currently it has nothing in it, but as it's made of metal, we can store pretty much anything. We can store something very hot, something very cold, most solids, most liquids. In fact, the only thing that a metal bucket cannot hold safely is some acids, as they will dissolve the metal. Pretty much everything we want to store in buckets can be grouped in categories that describe what we are putting in the bucket. Examples of things we could put in buckets include rocks, soil, grass, water, sand, and so on. Data is broken into categories that define the type of data we are storing. These are called data types. When you are declaring a variable in non-Python languages, you have to state the data type of the variable that will be storing your data. Think of it as if you are defining the material of the bucket you will need. For example, in C# you might declare a variable as follows. The word string is saying that this variable will hold text. The major data types are integer, this stores a whole number; real or float, this stores a number with a decimal point. Technically, it can store a whole number, such as 1.0. Character, this stores a single letter or punctuation mark or symbol. Technically, it can store a number, but not in a way you can perform maths on it. String, as mentioned previously, this stores a word or sentence of 0 or more characters. Like characters, it can store numbers, but not in a way you can perform maths on it. And Boolean, this stores something that is true or false. When you are declaring your variables, it is essential that you use the right data type to store the data you are using, otherwise your program might crash. Once you have created your variable of a specific data type, you cannot rename it or change the data type until the program finishes running. Python doesn't make you declare what data type you are using for a variable. It is dynamically typed, which basically means it decides for you. You still need to understand data types though, as you may need to convert the value in a variable to another data type at some point in your program. We call this casting, and we'll learn more about it later in this course. So, variables can be thought of as buckets to hold data. Variables are areas of memory created to store data. The process of creating a variable is called declaring. A variable has an identifier, which is a unique name to identify the variable. In some programming languages, you need to specify the data type of your variable. Python will do all of this for you. Data can be identified by its data type, in other words, the category of data it belongs to. Common data types include integers, floats, characters, strings, and booleans.